On the outskirts of Budapest in Hungary, we are here for round 10 of the GP3 Division of the XRL Racing League. Bumped over to Channel 2, courtesy of the software deciding it didn't want to recognise Channel 1 for whatever reason. Either way, we're going to be here for bringing you a 50% race distance of a track which has proven challenging due to the track conditions, high tyre wear, low grip, and generally a circuit that really punishes trying your hardest to get into the corners at high speed. Lap times are a bit slower than the real-life counterparts, and it's definitely one that can really make the drivers have to work really hard. Coverage brought to you tonight courtesy of GT Omega Racing and GamePod.co.uk. I'm Pete Markoff, and joined in the box for the first time, I've got Michael Skinner. Good evening to you.
Good evening to you all. Thanks very much for having me. It's an honour to cover this.
At least you're not got the nerves got the better of you there.
Love you
too. Also, just a quick shout out. You're going to be able to hear him in the race tonight, but we've actually also got a third steward here. We've got LGS doing a track watching from the track line, so he'll be keeping an eye on places like turn 4, turn 13, where drivers have been able to push a little outside the rules and get themselves that extra 10th or 2, which can really make a difference.
Well, the tyre wear is going to be important for these drivers as well. And we experienced it in many divisions. We did it last night with experiencing 4 stops. That's what the drivers were comfortable. So 50%. Most people would say they're doing 3 stops tonight, but I feel 4 stops is, so I don't think the prime tyres is going to last that long around here.
Now, the prime tyres are a bit of a danger. Now, at the moment, what I'm trying to do is I'm just quickly checking to make sure we are going out live, because we've been having a bit of an issue with my XSplit account here, and we could be pretty much talking to ourselves, which is not something that I really want. So I do apologise if you are watching and currently you've got a picture of the stream loading. On the track at the moment, I'll give you a radio coverage. Just quickly checking to make sure we are going out live, first one on the circuit, and indeed we do have a live coverage, so that will do me nicely. Right, so meanwhile, Sam Stressy going into turn 4 and immediately goes off 4 tyres on the outside going over the AstroTurf. We saw Roman Grosjean getting a penalty there in 2013 when he tried his pass on Felipe Massa. It's a place that encourages going wide, but at the same time you can't do it all the time in the race.
One in the Lotus. I was obviously I've raced with him last night in the GP2. He's got a very good race pace, so he's probably the one to watch tonight. But all the drivers in the GP3 are wondering, how does he become unstoppable? Can anyone beat him? Obviously, one person has beaten him this season, which is Righteous Tag in Canada, I believe, in round 7.
Well, Samster BFRC, meanwhile, had such a poor lap, he's actually retired to the pits. On the stream, Eyes the Best getting in, saying, evening, good evening to you, nice to see you watching out there, and that we're not completely talking to ourselves, as I was worried about at one point. As I say, viewers, for those of you who wonder why I've got the situation, it's very simple. We've had issues where the actual streams haven't been looking like they're working, so obviously we've done what we can to try and avoid that happening here. If you've got your messages there, you can keep them coming in on the chat box on the stream, or of course you can also get in on the Xbox Live, sending messages directly to myself, Swishbone, or of course to FF Alonso, who's joining me in the box tonight. Now, Rowan 95XX, Ronald Boyd and the Williams driver, been a bit inconsistent with his race pace sometimes, shown flashes of pace, and you can see there when he took turn 2, he got a bit timid into the corner, didn't really let the car go out wide for maximum pace, didn't really compromise entry to 3, but did cost him 2 or 3 miles an hour, but he did take 4 beautifully there, making sure he didn't actually cross the white line. So, good drivers so far, if a little conservative. Through the chicane of 6 and 7, took that quite nicely there. And then we're into this tricky section, which is kind of like the S of Suzuka, in that it rewards high-speed changes of direction. Not as many corners to take as that section, but it's still very, very demanding on the tyre, especially late in the stint. 57 seconds on the bridge, it's looked pretty promising so far from Rybo.
Yeah, his connection seems to have let him down in a couple of races where drivers do complain.
Speaking of connection,
yeah, as one of the Red Bull drivers, so we're going to try and get him back in.
Well, someone might wait to do the invite if possible. Meanwhile, Rybo gets a 1:18.8 on the option tyres. Compared to the F1 division, that's quite slow, but then again, this is not the F1. Now, Writer's Tech 840, aka Chris Moss, he's currently coming to turn 1 in the Red Bull. It's the sole surviving driver so far, as his teammates dropped out. Oh, took a bit too much curve on the entry there, and that pushed him onto the AstroTurf on the outside. That will cost a lot of time, and definitely not the way to take that corner.
Definitely lose you a few tenths if you keep getting that corner wrong. every time the drivers are pushing to that limit on that part of the track, the teams don't have the confidence to get the car slow down into that corner.
Well, it's interesting. Oh, that looked like 4 tyres very close to the edge there. Normally the game would give you a penalty. Now, it might have actually cancelled the lap there. I'm not sure if it has. I can't remember a way of telling that. But it looked like he did get close to the edge there right this time. So definitely not the best of laps from him so far. He's getting a bit rugged and trying to attack. But one of the things I've noticed is that it seems that the grip here is very much lacking. And in the race stint with the high tyre wear, it's one of those weird circuits where you're not getting enough grip to push the tyre wear, and yet the tyres still fall away.
It was like yesterday when I was racing GP2 quite no rubber on the track, and the lap time started getting quicker.
Look how wide he's gone at 14 there. Right, has tagged wisely going for the pits, and that's on the option tyres as well, so he's not even got the excuses saying I'm on the slower tyre. Andy Cobb in the Mercedes, meanwhile, goes totally wide at turn 4. Shows you can gain a lot of pace there, but again, that's one of the things the stewards will be looking out for. It's a corner that's so easy to go wider, and again, many parallels to turn 8 at Austria, where in the real life race at the Red Bull Ring, they were paying attention to that and deleting lap times. Not something that we have the ability to do, of course, online. It's unfortunate. It would be interesting to have a stewards mode. That makes things quite interesting. And he goes wide again at turn 12 there, so Andy Cobb's definitely all out attack. And while that's giving him a bit of an edge in the qualifying, he's got to watch out that he isn't doing that consistently in the race. The rules are there. You do get totting up penalties very easily.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised how many drivers were going wide on that part of the track, but yeah, definitely we are clamping down on the season, the track extending, and drivers of them are paying for the price.
The speed demon just got on board him and the Ferrari, and he went nowhere near the apex of the corner, but then he has slowed down on the next corner and kind of aborted the lap, so it's not so bad from him. Conor Rice, meanwhile, he's done a 1:21.2. That's very lacking in pace. I'd be surprised if that's not the fastest lap in the actual race itself. He needs to find a good 2 or 3 seconds, Conor Rice, if he wants to avoid being at the back row of the grid in that Toro Rosso. I'm not sure if this is a second lap or an in lap. Pace looks around about where Riot's tag was, so we'll stay on board and see how he goes for the rest of the race here. But as you can see, he's really struggling to get the car bitten into the corner. It's like this terminal understeer. And also the corner there, turn 11, they've really deceptive. It looks like there's so much junk off the track and there's actually nothing there. So you kind of, as a driver, I'm supposing you're getting that point where you've really not got the confidence to attack because you don't know if the grip's just suddenly going to fall away from you.
Kind of errors in cars because it is a high downforce track, and this is probably where you have to do it. It is going to be happening a lot in the race. But it's interesting to find out what balance and errors.
Indeed. Now, meanwhile, Davey in the Mercedes, he starts his next lap. He's on a 1:18.0, currently good enough for P2. Heading into turn 1, gets on the anchors, big lock up there, really gets into our shape, but just gets it inside the line to recover that beautifully. Heading out towards turn 2, getting shaky during the DRS zone, kind of like constantly twitching in to find the line, like he's trying to feel for the grip. Ayrton Senna used to do it years ago in the Lotus, but a very different era when tyres were a very different kind, so I don't think he's going to gain any real advantage here. Into turn 4, let's ride on board. Takes that beautifully actually, avoids getting a corner cut and keeps the car pretty much planted. Beautiful driving there. Into turn 5, not sure we gained much time, but it's still good to show you can take it quick and fair. In the chicane of 6 and 7, terminal oversteer there. You see how he struggled to get the power down and the bite of the car, almost like it was fighting away from him.
And that's where the downforce now comes into play, and he got
he's gone what? Yeah, he just right, yeah, 12, turn 12, wasn't he? He just went totally off the track.
But no clearly shows the signs that he's slowing down, so I'm presuming that this lap will count, and was surprised if he brought into the pit. No, he doesn't, so he comes around the final corner.
Getting on the gas. No DR, no curves, but has he improved to 1:17.6? Good enough for second place. Now, meanwhile, a couple of messages are coming. WF1 Raikkonen asking how many stops we reckon in the race. Well, the tyres have been scaled, so you imagine that with the 4 stops and potential 5 stops we saw in the F1 division, you might have to see them being replicated here as well, where drivers having to keep those tyres going. Meanwhile, LGS has got involved, sent a message for Xbox Live, advising that the pole time would have been good enough for 4th in the F1 division. So that's really, really encouraging pace. As rival 95XX goes back onto another lap in the Williams, Coming on a 118.8, good enough for P5. Into turn 1, gets turned in nice and easily and gets good run on the tyres there. Make sure he gets a nice attacking line into the first apex and drifts wide to the actual curb on the outside, getting the natural pace. Going through turn 2, and he's taken that a lot better than last time. Let the car drift out wide and carried a little more speed. He should be a few tenths quicker already, provided he doesn't make any mistakes.
Now we're going to see the lap times improve. Now, I'm presuming now with GSY David getting that better time of 1:17.6, so the lap times will be getting improving. So we'll probably see most of the drivers hitting the 1:17 mark. But you know, a Stevo 1:17.1, I'll be surprised if he can do a 17 flat on his next run. So he's probably looking pretty strong for pole position. He has got 4 tenths on the second place.
Well, again, we saw in the F1 division when XRL Fearless looked like he had a big advantage at qualifying, and in the race he just could not shake off velocity. And of course, Jambo, who was up there as well towards the end of the session, and also our Davidson driver. So we got a lot of drivers doing really well in the race rather than qualifying trim. But Rival comes out the final corner, DRS active, and he's improved by nearly a second. He found a huge amount of time, 9 tenths to go into the 1:17, and Smithcole, who's currently 4th on the 1:18.1, he should be looking to break into the 17th, maybe threatening second place, but it depends on how much pace he finds. If he finds nearly a second, all of a sudden he's going to be right near the front of the grid.
Lotus will be looking pretty strong as well. You can get the all Lotus front row, but the gap is magnificent, bigger. It was nowhere close to what GP3 were. GP2 had a really close quality. I think it was in the 1:17 last night. And I was actually surprised by that as well. But these guys should be getting the lap times in now. As I believe the.
Oh, Smith calls aborted. That's interesting. Less than 2 minutes to go. I don't think he'll get out for another run. Andy Coy, meanwhile, 1:18.6 is in 5th place, but he's in a Mercedes. Gets a decent run to the first corner, but struggles with traction through the middle part of the zone. It's like he got the turn in beautifully, but then didn't get the power down coming out of the corner. Into turn 2, gets a bit squirrely on the throttle, but just about gets away with that. Through turn 3, looks pretty decent. He's got a car up ahead that can't afford to get in his way, and he's concerned about being blocked here. Going for turn 4, goes a little wide, all 4 times on the outside. Tom Russell goes off the track at 5, using the runoff. Good driving there. And that's an example for anyone who's watching and how to get out of the way. On the stream, meanwhile, Soren Wombat says, "Come on, Andy." Not sure who he's actually referring to. I'm guessing it's Andy Coy. Going through the chicane, meanwhile, getting for a decent run there. Decent crit through the sector 2. High speed changes in the sweepers. And we see the guys gaining a lot of pace, but once again going wide at 12. Consistently seen that so far, and that's not something you can keep doing in the race. Coy goes a little too wide to the AstroTurf there. He's really attacking, but getting quite ragged and out of shape. Through turn 14. Looks quite decent, and then we're into this tight final hairpin. Gets close to the pit wall. That's how you want to be taking it. Try and front end it if you can, but he got squirrely on the outside and does not improve.
Hero's on a flying lap. He's just come out of turn 1, and the DRS is active. He uses a bit of curves coming out of there. He's got a car ahead of him coming down towards the long left-hander into sector turn 2. Sorry.
Yeah, it's one of the McLarens. It might have been Schumacher IMA, but he gets out of the way just about for turn 3 and into 4. He's got a chance here to start with 1:17.1. Oh, look how wide he's gone through 4. If that's where he's gaining his time, that's going to definitely generate the ire of the viewers and also the guys on the track. Something that he can't do, and maybe that's something that the man will look into the rules for. If people are seen repeatedly cutting, maybe that's some way you can get a penalty in the race, because you already can get it if you're deliberately cutting chicanes to gain time and save tyres. And if you're gaining an advantage, I mean, look how wide he's going there. That's what, half a second potentially in terms of extra speed?
Probably 2 tenths, 3 tenths, probably improving on the time, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually aborts this because no, he doesn't. He comes round the final corner. So this could be like a better time for us. Oh, he gets a 1.
73.
He improves. Not mega,
Right, so time on his final time, 1:19.8. He's off the pace so far, going through the final corner. DRS for Owen. Has he improved? 1:19.0. He goes ahead. Schumacher IMA. And 1:43. 26.5 seconds of the pole difference from the Lotus. And 1:43. That would be considered slow as somewhere like, well, I would say Abu Dhabi. I'd say that'd be considered slow there. But for here,
I would be surprised if he made a mistake on a flying lap somewhere. I wonder why he went so slow when Estevo was on the flying. So there must have been somewhere in either turns 1 or 2. He locked up Mega. He must have gone off the track because that ain't Schumacher's real time. So.
WF1 Raikkonen on the stream asks, where's F1 speed on the grid? Answer, not here. I think he's racing in F4 rather than GP3, isn't he, F1 speed?
Yeah, he's F4.
Because we're doing the GP3 this week. Of course, we have had a streamer drop away, but my co-commentator, Mr. Skinner, is going to be joining us soon to provide coverage as well. So hopefully you'll have me and Dan subbing for a short while, and then we'll be back to the usual rotation. So keep an eye on that. And this is why Skinner's here. I'm taking him under wing, showing him the best of how to do it. Learn from the master. There can be only one.
Learning from the master. That's a better phrase I've heard from a long time, Twitch. Thank you very much.
No, it's either that or say last minute lucky. I can choose one or the other. I think the first one was slightly more polite. Right, so getting on to the actual race grid then. Obviously we're going to be here for the 35 lap, 50% distance. So 35 laps is still a long way to go around this circuit. And we have seen the issues with tyre wear. Don't forget, we also saw in the stream where we lost on F1, where we lost our actual host, and then let's not forget the safety car that happened for XRL Bubba. So anything can and will happen here. We are at 0% chance for rain, so rain's not going to affect it. Tyre temperatures are about the same. Giving you a final rundown of the grid then. On pole position was Steve-O, then GSY Davey in second, Rybo at 95 in third, Smith-Colt in fourth, Andy Cobb fifth, Wright's Tag a disappointing sixth, Speed Demon in seventh, Connor Ice eighth, and then ninth, Schumacher IMA with that, God knows where that came from time. FIF Alonso, meanwhile, you're in 10th, I'm in 11th, and Samster starts behind you. So you're going to have to get out of his way on the grid. And also our final streamer brings up the rear, and he'll be watching all the corners from that point. Meanwhile, on the stream, Greeny0852 also joins the Andy Coy fan club, along with Soaring One, but saying, come on Andy. Well, he's in 4th place, in 5th place, but the time that Steve-O had would suggest that he would be the favourite. But then again, XRL Fearless was favourite for the F1 division, and look what happened there. So it's definitely not a foregone conclusion.
We have got one of the Red Bull cars, as I believe, behind us. So I'll be moving away from that.
That's right, you'll have to get out of his way, so depending on what side of the track you are, make sure you pull off. But the only way we're going to find out what really happens in the race is to get out onto the circuit. As usual, coverage here brought to you tonight by GT Omega Racing and GamePod.co.uk, live and exclusive to Twitch.tv. I'm Pete Marcroft, I'm joined tonight by Mike Skinner, and also LGS is watching for the track extending. It's high tyre wear, it's high downforce, and it's got 0% chance of rain. The F1 division produced one of the greatest races we've seen in Excite Racing League, despite the depleted grid. Will we see a repeat here? Let's get out to the circuit and see what happens. On the outskirts of Budapest in Hungary, we are here for 35 laps of the Hungaroring. It's a race that's seen only 2 wet races in the past, both won by Jenson Button, and it's often produced a bit dreary action, but when it's come to the racing leagues, it's been a completely different story. My co-commentator will have to pull to the right to ensure he gets out of the way, and we've already lost GSY Davey. He's gone out of the race from 2nd place. He's not even made it. Once those 5 lights go out, we will be racing. Lights out, and away we go. So heading out to the first corner, Stevo's got a decent start. He's got a huge gap already. Right on 95, I believe, is second place now, courtesy of that retirement of Davey. Up on the inside, the Sister Roses tries to lunge past. Oh, and he's shot across the Williams, but spun around them and hit by Riotous in the Red Bull, I believe. So it looks like it was a suicide lunge by the Sister Red Bull, the Sister Lotus. Andy Coybe in second place, Speed Demon now to third after all that chaos. Rival 95 Double X in fourth, and then we've got a bit of a scrap going on between fifth and sixth place. Connorized is in the Toro Rosso under big pressure from Riotous tag in the Sister Red Bull. Heading into the turn four, Riotous backs out though, and there's no way through there. As the McLaren Schumacher IMA brings up in seventh place. We've got a cluster of cars all slightly broken apart, but a bit of a fracker at the start, it has to be said.
Mistake from Smithfical into the first corner.
Oh, so Connorized has gone off at the chicane of 6 and 7. Riotous tag sweeps through, and Schumacher IMA is also lining him up. Looks like he's going to get a chance to take the position here. Let's move back so we can bring a bit of coverage of that. Heading through, it's definitely got Connorized in now down in sixth place. And he's right behind him is Schumacher IMA in the McLaren, and he's being chased down fast by the Sister Lotus, who made that suicide dive. That was Smithcole who got that totally wrong, and oh, Schumacher IMA gets it wrong himself at turn 14, goes a bit wide but gets away with it as he wants to get onto the slipstream of Toro Rosso of Connorized.
Samson looking on the inside of that last corner, and doesn't get the six. It's still side by side with the Lotus, but there's a battle ahead as well.
Yeah, Smithcole's just got the racing line there, but Schumacher IMA went past Connorized, went too deep, and Schumacher IMA is actually on the prime tyres. So despite that stupidly slow qualifying lap, and as soon as Schumacher IMA goes off, gets locked up, and then Connorized, I don't know how he keeps it in the car there to avoid going off the circuit. Respectful driving, a bit aggressive, but Schumacher IMA did not actually hit him, and now Schumacher IMA is all over his gearbox into turn 4, keeps it beautifully on the arms. Connorized goes defensive, nearly pushed him off the circuit at 5. Schumacher IMA is really attacking here. Meanwhile, behind them, Smithco is under big pressure once again as the Sister Red Bull attacks. I keep forgetting who that is actually. It's at the back of the field in 9th place. That's actually Swamster in BFRC, but he's just not got the grit to pull through.
Smithco actually went off that turn 4. He actually gained an advantage. That's why he was on the back of Schumacher IMA. So I think he had to ease off of that because
Schumacher IMA took a lunge at turn 13, brushes the inside tyre of Connorized, who avoids going and getting spun around. But needless to say, the lower divisions living up to their slightly more aggressive driving style here. All the guys attacking, moving further forward. Rival 95 Double X is catching up to Speed Demon slowly, but he's just not got the gap closed down. So as we move further back through the pack, Riotous tag is in 5th place with Connorized in 6th. And then we've also got Schumacher IMA in the McLaren in 7th, trying to attack the back of the Toro Rosso. Once again gets on the brakes, but he's just not quite there to attack as Riotous tag goes slightly wide at turn 1. That opened up the door for Connor, but Connor's just too far behind, as actually Smithcole's got past. No, Smithcole's just ahead of the Red Bull. He already was ahead. I forgot about that. As Connorized goes wide at turn 2, that opens the door for Schumacher in turn 3. Schumacher IMA goes on the outside, trying to take the wider line to turn 4. But you get the feeling that Connorized will be able to force him out wide here. Schumacher IMA catches it on the arm, and Smithcole once again goes wide, gets close to the back of the diffuser of Schumacher IMA, who nearly hits the back of Connorized. These three drivers are all really close together, and now we've also got Sansa as Schumacher IMA tries to go past, and then clips the back tyre of Connorized, spins around, and goes off the circuit. That will definitely have to be investigated after the race, as Connorized now starts to go wide through the middle sector, and Smithcole's attacking through turns 11 and 12. He fancies a move on the inside, and Smithcole's going to be squeezed. He has to get off the gas, and be on the Red Bull, going on the inside. Some looking to attack the pair of him into turn 13. Can he get the move done? Smithcole trying to go around the outside NASCAR style. They brush tyres into turn 14. Smithcole will have the inside line, and unfortunately for Samster, he's just not able to get through.
Great driving from the Red Bull and the Lotus drivers. This is why I was so happy to be here tonight. I missed the GP3 action, and I believe he has DRS yesterday.
Yeah, both drivers have DRS, but Samster's used the curse to get as close as he can to the back of the Lotus of Smithcole. And Smithcole's on the outside, Samster gets to the inside, gets on the brakes, leaves plenty of room, but that move looks like it's going to be done and dusted, and he's going to have the DRS now to attack the back of Connorized, while Smithcole tries to attack him. So Samster's got to take advantage now. He has to create the gap so that he doesn't get done by Smithcole. He can ill afford to get stuck in this, as in behind them, Schumacher IMA is in the pits. I don't know if he had a nose cone failure, and he's after the incident there, but either way, he's in the pits and totally out of sync now.
He did have wing damage, I believe. He lost half of his wing already, so he must...
Conrad's going into turn 6 and 7, getting out of shape and wide on the entry, and that opens the door for Samster through 7 and 8. Samster in the Red Bull is definitely pulling away from Smithcall now that he's broken away from him, and Conrad's and the Terra Rosso having a real hard time on those option tyres attacking. Samster, of course, has got the fresher tyres due to the fact he failed to qualify. Gets on the outside, going to take a look into 13. Samster thinks better of it, realising there's very little grip there, but meanwhile, up ahead, we got a scrap for 4th and 3rd as Wright's attack continues to tour around in 5th place, and then rival 95XX should have DRS here on the back of Speed Demon using the curse to attack, but he's going to be too far behind to make the move. Going further back to that over duel then, you've got Conrad's being attacked very quickly by Samster, and he's going to have this move done by the end of the pit straight here. You get the feeling this is going to be pretty terminal, and he's already through. Meanwhile, interestingly, Smithcall's actually gone into the pits on lap 5. So he's quite interesting. And Conrad's trying to come back on Samster. He's not got DRS, but that's not going to stop him. He's on the outside of turn 2, and he's going to try and wall of death around the outside and get the better lines of 3. And that's an amazing piece of driving. He overtakes Samster, despite Samster having DRS and Conrad's not having that advantage. Fantastic!
Great driving again. These two battle together, but
Conrad's goes wide at 5, and Samster thought about slicking on the inside of turn 6, but decided to think better of it and let him get away there. Samster, a bit of squeal there, wasn't it, from Conrad? Meanwhile, Soaring Wombats has plenty of drama. This is fantastic, as both Conrad and Samster go off. How did Samster catch that one? He got no traction on the AstroTurf, but somehow kept it going Colin McRae style. Beautiful.
What's the save on Samster in the Red Bull? That has to be a save of the season so far.
Both drivers go off at 13. Samster's going to have the outside dirty line. He's not going to get any grip there. Meanwhile, race for the pits as all the drivers look like they're going to come in at one-man scramble. And Conrad goes wide and hits the pit wall. Loses his front wing. Conrad does all his work in one turn. Samster stayed out. He's not giving up on his tyres. But meanwhile, he's already a pit stop behind the likes of Steve-O, who's come out in 2nd place now.
And there are 3 penalties. I'm presuming that's all from the first lap incident, with Smithcall going deeply into the first corner. Andy stayed out 1 lap longer. I'm presuming that the options don't last that long around here on 50%.
But they don't last very long on any stint. I mean, we saw in the F1 division, some drivers are pitting very, very early. I think LGS will be the one who can give us the specific data, but I'm pretty certain we had someone coming out lap 8 or lap 9 at one point in the F1 stream, and that was a 70-lap race. So that's not even that is only 10% distance. So it just shows you how the wear can be badly affected at this circuit. Rival 95XX has not managed to gain any advantage on Speed Demon. In fact, if anything, Speed Demon's opened up the gap as he's gone into the pit stop. So Speed Demon's come out in the pink in many ways. Andy Coybe's the one to follow here, of course, because he stayed out. Now, moving further forward, he's in the pits, isn't he?
He's gone into the box on lap 6, so he stayed out.
Well, Steve-O's just coming into the final corner now. You'd expect Steve-O to get ahead here, but it's a question of just how good the pit crew are. Not good enough. Andy Coybe's easily going to be jumped by Steve-O. And the question now is what's going to happen to Samster's diving the box. So Samster's spared his blushes in many ways. He's gone out and he's already down to 5th place. Meanwhile, Speed Demon in 3rd is not in any position to attack Andy Coybe. So Andy Coybe retains position as rival 95XX starts to close up a little on the back of Speed Demon's Ferrari. He's got the fresh tyres and he's got the DRS. So rival should definitely have a better run here for now. But once the dirty air starts coming into play, that starts to make him fall apart.
Capitalise on Andy Coybe because he's got to get the prime tyres up to temperature. Speed Demon will have his tyres up to temperature, and he goes mega wide out of turn 4. Again,
Rival also went wide. Well, we do have one pair of eyes who's going to be keeping his eyes peeled for. Again, you can't hear him on the stream, so let's unmute him for echoing purposes. But LGS is here, and he's watching the actual detail of all the corner cuts. So, needless to say, we're going to have plenty of eyes watching this. We've also got the stream to follow as well. As Rival 95XX tries to get close to the back of Speed Demon, but it does being kicked up there ahead, and he's actually gone wide at 12. Rival 95's got a big chance here. Fancy taking a lunge in the 13, thinks better of it. The naturally tighter corner there just doesn't make it an overtaking spot. But look how close he is. If he gets a good run out of 14 and 15, Rival's going to be at the pound seats.
Schumacher's now takes it to Conorize for 8. So with that mistake from Conorize on the lead, Schumacher's now gaining on the car also.
DRS flap open from Ribo as he tries to get close to the back of Speed Demon. Speed Demon's not got that advantage, and the speed difference is very obvious down towards turn 1. But Ribo just didn't able to close the gap enough. DRS flap open down towards 2. A little bit of curves being deployed there by the looks of it, but not enough to get the push. Ribo not able to make the advantage. Speed Demon doing a great job. On the stream, meanwhile, SpinnyLad56 jumps in and says hi, hello. Sorry, one more replies and says hi, good evening from us guys in the box as well. Into turn 4. Rival 95XX goes a bit too tight to the inside of 4, gaining an advantage like you would going over the outside, but the inside does give you warnings in the game, but it's reduced rules. How many warnings do you get? Too many.
5 or 6, and it'll definitely give you an automatic sensation, and I think I've had that one time last week. Popped me down from 6.
SpinnyLad asks on the stream, what has he missed so far? Well, he's missed a great series of micro-duels between Ribo 95XX and Speed Demon, and also the freeway scrap between Smith Cole, Connorized, and also, I forgot the guy who was at the back of the, I can't remember his name, the guy who was in the Red Bull. Samster, that's it, yeah, Samster, that was the third guy. Those three were all in very, very close duels, and interestingly, speaking of that, going towards the back of the points, Writer's Tag remains in 5th place, and then Smithcull in 6th is now actually under attack from Samster, but Smithcull is on the prime tyres, Samster is on the options, and he's got the DRS open, he's using the curse, so Samster's going to have a go here, and the overrun should mean he gets ahead before the corner. Can he get it stopped? Can he avoid getting chopped back on the undercut? Because we saw what Connorized did to Samster, even though he had the DRS and Connorized didn't. DRS flap open again as Smithcull tries to attack, but those tyres just don't have the grip, and as a result of that, Samster goes ahead, even if he's a little wide through turn 3.
I'll be watching. I'm still stay on board with 4th place.
It's a tricky one because we've actually had quite a few internet problems today. When I first came onto Xbox Live, I was told that I wasn't able to connect and had some kind of weird DNS error or something. I'm not sure what it was. Anyway, I tried again and it worked. But then when I've come to the stream, I was supposed to be on Channel 1 tonight doing GP3. Channel 1 would not be authorised on my Swift streaming software. So that's why I've been bumped to Channel 2. So quite a few gremlins in the net tonight, it has to be said. As Rival 95XX tries to attack the back of Speed Demon and the Ferrari, but Rival's just not got the traction or the grip, and Speed Demon takes after his name here. He seems to have got the pace.
I used to race with Speed Demon as my teammate in Ferrari when I was first joined GP3 this season. He has got tremendous race pace. I can keep up with him in the straights, but in the corners, it's something where Ribo should be capitalising. He's got good straight speed in the Ferrari.
But it's interesting because you've seen Ribo struggling actually, really losing pace on him, and even with the DRS wasn't really getting close enough, so definitely not the strongest performance so far from Ribo. And of course we've already had one retirement courtesy of that disconnection at the start of the race, so Davey, having qualified beautifully, has ended up losing out at the start of the race in horrible fashion. Definitely not what we wanted.
I'm pretty sure that the second DRS detection point is not as powerful as the first one down the straight. So it's only a short straight that turns 2.
No, I actually don't see the reason why we have so many double DRS zones in F1, because there are a lot of times where I don't think it is actually of any benefit whatsoever. It's like if you got a Spa, they've got the DRS down to the source, but no one wants to pass there because they don't want to be done on DRS down the Camel Straight, so it's pointless. It's a section, it's alright, yeah, it gives people an extra speed boost in qualifying. Who bloody cares? It doesn't do anything to change the race pace.
No, and Ribo was quicker in that middle section than Speed Demon. This is where Ribo is stronger, is in the middle sector than Speed. And
he's got a huge speed gap here. Look at that. He's got the overrun, but instead of braking zone, they're going to be side by side. Into turn, Speed Demon tries to chop on the tighter line, but a great piece of covering off driving from Ribo gets him away. So Speed Demon now is going to have to watch as the DRS of Ribo helps him pull away. Moving back here, Samster is going to try to tag the other sister Red Bull of Writer's Tag. He's got DRS, but not using it. Has Samster got a failure on his DRS here? Unbelievable. So the Red Bull teammates now lying astern, 5th and 6th. Definitely not on the beat. Meanwhile, SpinnyLad saying F1 pop quiz swish. Well, we've got a bit of action on track at the moment, so we're not in that zone yet, but who knows? Maybe later on we might do that. Last night we were actually having a bit of a pop quiz. I'd had one too many in the pub, so I was coming out with random questions on the stream. This seems to go over alright.
This will be interesting now for Righteous Tag. Will he let his teammate through despite he's on the quicker option? And if he is, obviously I'm presuming that Samson's on a different strategy to Righteous Tag, and he is struggling. So I wouldn't be surprised if Righteous Tag will let Samson through. Both of them go wide on that exit of that middle sector. Go watch it here, because they are actually cracking down on track extending as well.
Definitely, and meanwhile, Speed Demon's actually got closer to Rybo. He's still in DRS range coming off the final corner down towards turn 1. He's got the flap open, but he's just not got the gap pace to be able to attack at that point. But the question is, big lock up from Speed Demon going into turn 1. And let's say, can you get the better answer? Answer is no, he can't. DRS open, meanwhile behind now, I did see him on the minimap, and you've got Raz's tag going on the outside, and he's on the prime tyres, whereas his teammate Samster on the options is forced to sit behind him with DRS. The Red Bull teammates doing a bit of Vitello Mark Webber here, not making it easy for each other. On the stream, meanwhile, Paragon the 125 says, "Evening Swish, how's it going? All fine so far, but it's early in the race. Anything can happen."
Evening to you, Paragon, as well. I'm actually surprised Righteous Tag has got good speed despite he weren't having DRS. So, Samson backing the curbs there, nearly losing the front end of that Red Bull.
Yeah, we saw that in the F1 division where drivers were attacking that and really getting punished. XRL Roberts was one of the few who did it. Also, I believe that we also saw the eventual leader in Velocity have the same problem. So it's those sausage curbs definitely make it easy for you to hit there and spin around. So as a driver, you want to try and stay away from them where you can. Many people complain that they reduce drivers attacking. The fact of the matter is, the white line's there for a reason. You can't be shooting around it. Heading for the final corner then, Samster BSC should have the DRS, but his curse has only just been used. He's not even going to use all his curse. He barely even used half. Why is he not using his curse earlier in the lap? Look how much closer he's getting to Rice's tag. Now he had a little bit of extra boost on that first straight. Still not enough to get the move done, but look at how much trouble Rice is in on those prime tyres. He's really squirrely and out of shape. Samster should be breezing past by now.
Mythical has boxed, so he thinking he must be on for a fourth stop. So he was on the prime, so he didn't do that many laps. Schumacher, nearly comes across the Lotus. That is the bit of debatable at the moment, because Smith was coming out of the pit lane and Schumacher just came across him.
On the stream, while Paragon says that he's in a good mood, he's finally put it in the 26s on the Nürburgring. I'm guessing you're in the GP layout rather than the Nordschleife. I'd be a bit worried if you did that in the 26s. Going for in the middle sector, Samster's got decent grip there, attacking the back of Rider's tag, and then gets over the curve on the outside, loses a lot of grip and nearly spins the car around, going wide at turn 12. And meanwhile, Smitty reckons it's a curse failure for Samster. Well, looking at the graphic, it's showing that it's constantly being used, but he was using it out of the final corner. So I don't think Samster's got a curse failure at all. By the way, who's boxed?
The former race leader, Stevens, is boxed in. So the Lotus boys.
Samster's also boxed as well.
So I'm presuming that these guys are now thinking where the highway is going to be important. So I'm thinking 4 stops, not 3 stops. As I went to the game chat, most drivers said the field were doing 3 stops. I'll be surprised if one could do it.
Yeah, it's not the easiest track because of the tyre wear. The tyre life really falls off very, very quickly. And Speedy was getting very close to the back of Bravo 95 double X, and he had to really brake hard going into turn 4. He still went wide due to the dirty air. Got a bit of a lock-up, so it's hard to know as to whether he actually got that too badly wrong. But heading into the chicane at turn 6 and 7, and he attacks the inside curve too much there. Gets totally out of shape. And behind Speed Demon, you've actually got Stevo in the Lotus. So he's going to be creeping up very quickly to this pair. And it'd be interesting to see if he gets held up.
just got word on LGS that the undercut here is so powerful, so I'm presuming as Stevo hits the wall out of that middle sector.
How did he get away without damaging the car?
He hasn't lost his end plate. That is surprising. As I just got told from LGS just moments ago, that people are now trying to go for a 4-stop. So, yeah, the undercut here.
Rival and Speed Demon have both boxed simultaneously, so neither driver's willing to cede the ground. Now, Ryder's tagging the Red Bull, being on the prime tyres, he's staying out here. So he could be a real thorn in their side if he gets out ahead of them. It's going to be close because they're both leaving the pit box now, and Ryder's tag is indeed going to come out ahead of these guys. So they're going to be on the fresh rubber and really having the opportunity to attack. But Ryder's tag, he's only like 4 or 5 seconds clear of these guys. They're going to be catching him very, very quickly. And as a result of that, they're going to be getting held up by him, especially if they get into a duel. So this could be a real game changer for those in the middle order, like Smithcull. We'll have to see how that pans out in the second and third leg of the race. Meanwhile, Panorama125 asks, is there any update on Nutters leaving during the F1 race? That will be up to the steward's report. I imagine that'll be out before the next F1 race.
Wide out turn 4. Now, that's the first time I'm actually playing the wide on turn 4. He's actually struggling on those prime tyres. I've popped up about twice now. So I'm presuming now that the guys behind him, yes, they are catching him up. So Ryber and Speed Demon are on the hunt for that 3rd place.
Exactly, well the question is he going to be holding them up if these two get too close together? Say Rival makes the wrong move at the wrong time at say turn 13, and that opens the door for Speed Demon. We could be in for some real issues with these guys where they're scrapping tooth and nail to try and get past, and then you've got him holding them up. It's up ahead meanwhile. One of the other cars is in the box, that's Andy Coy. Are these guys going to come out ahead of him here? Oh, interestingly, Ryder's tag boxes at the very last second, and Rybo's going to gain an advantage here because he's going to have to DRS from following behind Ryder's tag. So Rybo gets an extra boost in speed to easily get him ahead. As Andy Coy comes out in second place, about 4 or 5 seconds clear. Paragon125 asked what was the pole time here. I think it was a 1:17.1, wasn't it?
Yeah,
courtesy of Stevo.
He actually improved only a few hundredths. So, despite he went wide on 2 occasions, which did probably gain him an advantage, yes, he did actually improve by
in the meantime, Connor Rice now chasing the back of Schumacher IMA, 9th place. We'll cover these guys a bit before the table. Nice to bring some coverage to the guys at the back of the grid, given the time and the spotlight they deserve. As Connor Rice goes through turn 1, trying to attack him. He's got a DRS on Schumacher IMA, but I'm surprised at the pace of Schumacher IMA because he's been really strong on this game. Been one of the real surprise packages, but has really fallen off the pace here at the Hungary.
Surprising as well because he actually did the first race in Australia. He disconnected, and obviously I'm thinking that he has no time for practice on his game. So he said he's really struggling with that McLaren. He said he preferred the Sauber back one day.
That's a real surprise because most people have hated the Sauber. Anyone remembers the comments of ex-Lewis Hamilton and Ice Cold Andy in the early part of the F1 season? Those two were both very, very upset at having that car because they were said that they both know they're a lot faster and they've not got a hope of being anywhere near the competitive front. You have to ask why it is that Codemasters still haven't been able to make an equal performance car game. Like, I remember someone saying, why don't they just take something like the Mercedes and make it so all cars have those stats and they just have different paint job layouts? It's a simple point. It makes you wonder why they don't do that, because that way it is equal.
Yeah, clearly, I don't know what Codemasters were thinking of. I was looking for a bit more competition with drivers. Obviously, I do race with a load of guys in custom, and despite some of them have played dirty, I've raced with a couple of guys that have been clean, and they're saying that this game is fair and equal.
Well, it's interesting because I actually was looking at old reviews for this out of curiosity the other day, because I was thinking, after with all the hurrah surrounding Grid Autosport and everything else, what was everyone's comment? And I actually found one review which probably summed it up, which simply said, this should have been DLC for F1 2012.
Really, I would have gone with that. but obviously I didn't, but someone beat me to it. But yeah, clearly, I thought 2012 game was a bit more competitive at that point. But yeah, this has been really a shocking year for Formula One.
Well, it's interesting because on the street, Smitty Lad is saying they don't care, they just want money. And I suppose if those of you who play Grid Autosport, that's the game I'm still doing my review for. I'm hoping that over the next 2 or 3 days, I'll be able to get the footage I need to cobble the review together, and I'll be putting that on YouTube where I give you a full view. But I have to say, it's a game that's really heads and tails. There are some things about it that are brilliant, and there's a lot of other things which really are not. It's one of those kind of games.
I've had many friends on my I haven't really got the game myself, but I'll be buying it over the next few days along with the streaming kit, so I can do both as I am covering LGS championships. But yeah, it'll be very interesting on that game really, but I've got to check it out first.
Yeah, definitely. Well, in the meantime, moving through the field, Snifkel in 7th place, Ryan Tatari in 6th, lonely 6th place, not really on the pace of anybody. His teammate Samster's ahead. We've got that bit of a situation where we do have a little bit of a gap in the field because of a Speed Demon in 4th, who's lost a lot of time to Rival all of a sudden. About 2 or 3 second gap between them now, and he's got the same kind of gap ahead of him into Andy Coib. And Andy Coib is absolutely nowhere near Steve-O. Gap must be about 10 seconds between them two. He's really far ahead. So at the moment, we do have that bit of a lull. So it has to be said, on the stream, Paragon the 125 is saying that he wishes there was actually a bit more DLC on the games. He gets a bit sick of driving the same tracks. He'd like it if you could build your own, like on the old EA games and the old Tony Hawk skate pipes. It's an interesting point, actually. It'd be interesting to see what. You don't even have to make it like that. Wouldn't it be interesting if you could actually choose? I mean, like Soren Wombat said it sounds terrible. Well, I don't necessarily agree. Imagine if you could create your own dream track where you can, like, say, take the Camel Straight at Spa, but instead of going into Lake Coombe, you then go into something like the Corkscrew from Laguna Seca, or something like the Bank Corner at Shanghai. Also, what I'd have liked to have seen was a lot more classic circuits based on tracks that are still on the calendar. Like the classic tracks they've got are okay. Imola, Estoril, and also Jerez and Brands Hatch are all decent tracks to drive, especially in the classic cars. What I'd like is, for instance, Silverstone, Spa, and Interlagos are all tracks on this game. Why couldn't they just have it where they could make extended versions where you get Spa with the original bus stop chicane? Get a version of Silverstone where you've not got the middle farm section and you either go back to the old layout through bridge, or if you get the old 1950s layout, how about have it where going back to Monza you have the banking, go to Interlagos where you have the extended loop. All those kind of things would be great. As Spinnyland also has chucked in and said, create your own team. Again, a mode that a lot of people would love to do, where you're your own team manager. That would be a fantastic one. Imagine you've started the game, you've got a 35 million budget and you're like at the team with your objective, beat Marussia, and then you're going to try and get more sponsors and everything else. It'd be fantastic.
That would be a nice, and I'm wondering if co-masters will actually consider that in the future
Well, it's funny because, like, Codemasters did have, years ago, an old Silverstone on one of the old touring car games. It was actually in black and white with grainy TV. It was absolutely brilliant. It was a year. We're talking like Toka 2, I think, had it. It might even be Toka 1. One of them had it, and it was a load of fun, even though it was ridiculous. Like, the screen audio popped because it was like watching it on a 1950s TV set. So there's all those kind of things which should make it interesting. But it's like, well, one of the things that you have to be, in the defence of Codemasters, you have to ask how much are they being charged for the licence, because that's one of the criticisms F1's come in real life. I read on Autosport today, apparently Bernie Ecclestone has said that Monza is ready to be cut after 2016. This is despite it being a circuit that Ferrari pretty much sell out on their own.
And I think that's... I think it was on the racing. It was one of the classic tracks that I used to enjoy mega time, and I would go back on that. It was the Austrian Grand Prix, which is now, I think it used to to be the Red Bull ring, I think.
Well, no, it's Red Bull Ring Mountain. It's been on as the A1 ring. And of course, for those of you who've got memories of the golden days, it was known as the fearsome Österreich ring, which was absolutely an amazing circuit. When you had the likes of Niki Lauda and James Hunt going through the very fast forest section. And we saw him one battle while he jumps in and says, they better not remove Monza, it's one of the best races on the calendar. Whereas Paragon, the 125 says, he always says that crap during contract negotiations, and it's all just for leverage. Well, again, a circuit like Korea, a circuit like India, you can afford to do it there. But a circuit where Ferrari have pretty much sold it out every year, you're grabbing the wrong bull by the horns there, I can assure you of that. I'm pretty sure that Ferrari would not be too pleased to lose an Italian Grand Prix.
No, they did that. Lost the San Marino last week at that point as well. Very sad. But Monza's always been a good strong track for Ferrari, and I think they're going to find it short this year in the 2014 race, despite the dominance of the Mercedes Grand Prix.
Yeah, I mean, the Mercedes Grand Prix team, and all the Mercedes engines, Monza is where you would expect those guys to just simply romp away. But again, strange things have happened. Look at Red Bull at Canada. No one fancied them. And speaking of that, actually, here's another interesting rumour regarding F1. Apparently, Renault have got their engine base up for sale. And apparently, according to Craig, I think it's Craig Scarborough, one of the F1 journalists, he's got rumours that Lotus have signed with Mercedes engines next year. This is despite them announcing a contract until 2018 earlier this season with Renault. So that adds a lot of weight to the rumour that Renault might well be on the way out of the sport as an engine supplier.
I was speaking to Robert earlier about this, and I wasn't too sure if the rumours were true or not. But I was on the website, yes. I think they were. I think I heard Lotus saying they wanted to buy.
Well, with McLaren moving to Honda, they do create that extra slot, and I imagine there'll be a lot of people waving golden carrots in the way of Mercedes for that engine. Like Red Bull, well, Mercedes won't want to power Red Bull. They don't want their strongest team with their engines, that's for sure. But you can imagine like Lotus, midfield team, someone like Toro Rosso. But another rumour, of course, is that Caterham apparently have now almost completed the sale, despite Tony Fernandez recently saying they weren't up for sale. Shows you how reliable people can be in the media, doesn't it?
Yes, he has.
It was, yeah, he has. He's pitted, so he's got himself out of the way.
As I think, when I was on board with Ribo, he was running outside into turn 2 of the
I didn't see that, but Ribo's now in third place, and it'll be interesting to see if he does go for the box here. Indeed, he does. Now, riding behind the Ferrari Speed Demon, is he going to go through? Yes, he is. Speed Demon fancies these tyres, surprisingly. He's been losing pace to Ribo, though, so with Ribo on fresher tyres, all he's doing is handing the distance, but is he trying to go for that extra last stop? Because if he pits at the end of the next lap, maybe even 26, his tyres will definitely last to the end. Will Ribo's?
Well, I'm pretty sure that Smith came in two to three laps earlier, so I'm thinking Smith doing a forced safety force stop, but Andy's going to be like, what, 12 seconds down the road from Estevo, who's already fitted. He's now on the gearbox of that.
Yeah, he is. He's right behind Andy Coybe, isn't he? So Stevo's almost got pretty much a pit stop lead over the Andy Coybe net of this. And Andy Coybe's going to have to be careful here, because Stevo on that threshold, but look how much more grip he's got for a sector 2. The tyres are just giving him so much more confidence and performance. As Andy goes off the track slightly at turn 12, Stevo's not going to be able to attack here though, so Stevo's going to have to sit behind him, but I can't see Andy Coybe staying out much longer. He has to react to avoid being done by the likes of Ribo behind him. I think first place is gone in this race. No, Andy Coybe stays out. Andy Coybe's not giving up. So now Stevo, is he going to look how much grip he's got? Stevo's going to blast past him like he's not even there.
And I'm thinking Andy is trying to do the 3-stop and, as you say, look at the power of the new tyres that Stevo's got already. And
well, if we're right on board with Andy Coybe, look at the distance out of the corner. Stevo's slung shot, that almost like he's got full traction control on, and Andy Coybe doesn't have it.
As Speed Demon now boxed in for the final time, as Ribo is on the undercut. So Arrivo doing that pit stop early is now going to be 3-4 seconds, and I'm thinking that no. The Renault just nearly collided with the red Ferrari or Speedham, and it's
Yeah, Riot's tag. It was Riot's tag there, who's ended up going wide all over the marbles. I didn't catch it because I was making my way back through the field.
I was just on board with the Ferrari at that point, and I saw the Red Bull locking up mega into turn one, as he just not expected that Ferrari to come out that pit lane so quickly.
On the stream, Sorry Wombat says, Andy always makes very questionable strategy calls. Well, we've seen this from Williams this season, haven't we, in the 2014 real life? So it's all about drivers being confident. Now, Schumacher, I may curiously, has gone onto the option tyres. I don't know if they're going to last the full 10 laps. That could be a big gamble. Conor Eyes on the primes is behind him, and already Schumacher is locked up, going into turn one. So Schumacher is going to be under pressure. Conor Eyes and Schumacher, despite being nowhere near the pace of the front runners, have been consistently racing each other all race, and the spirit of F1 Awards should definitely go to these two, because despite the collisions early on, them both losing the wings, they've kept in there and done a good job so far.
And I'll give full credit to these two as well. They didn't retire in the pit lane, they didn't lose connection, they are actually sticking out, and they could do with these championship points, especially for Schumacher. He's had a really struggle to the GP3 campaign after having a solid third place last season. And I've enjoyed great battles with Schumacher last season, and I'm really surprised he's actually fighting for 8.
Conor Eyes went very wide at turn 10 there. He got that badly wrong as he went through the outside of Dart. But needless to say, heading down into turn 13, Conor Eyes definitely off the pace now. Greeny0852 says he's a seasoned veteran, he knows what he's doing. Who's this? Kimi Raikkonen?
He must be. It must be a Kimi Raikkonen if he's a seasoned veteran.
Rabo95 trying to get closer to Andy Coy, because Andy Coy is now under big pressure because Rybo is only a couple of seconds behind him. Rybo is going to be in position to take second place here in this race because Andy Coy is under big pressure. As Sorry Mama said, the strategy is not reacted, and as a result of that, Rybo's passed him, and there's a great chance that Speed Demon's also going to do the same. Andy Coy could be off the podium here.
He's second in the championship, and he's fighting Estevo for the title in GP3. But although that Estevo could be promoted up to GP2 any point, so yeah, I'm surprised that Andy hasn't pitted any time sooner. And those primes must be worn out.
Well, the thing is, there's still 8 laps to go as well. Yeah, you're right. He could get 18 points, Rybo. He's done a great job in the race.
I think he will get undercut by Rybo, Speed Demon, and Righteous Tag, who's also pitted. So,
well, where's Righteous Tag on track at the moment?
He's just coming down turn 2 now. So, yeah, he could be... No, that's Sunster in 5th place, sorry.
Right, well, in the meantime, Paragon125 on the stream, a question, and you can get involved in here as well, Mike, saying, what's our thoughts on the direction of the Codemasters games? Should they go more simulate-based, with warm-ups, laps, more realistic handling, or staying somewhat balanced between arcade, grid and sim? Well, the thing is, Grid Autosport sounded like it was going to be a good balance between having realistic handling and slightly more close racing, because of the fact they got involved with Autosport magazine, they actually got writers who do real racing with Autosport magazine. All their blogs were showing videos of guys who drove the likes of Ford GTs and Audi R8 Le Mans cars, talking about how the grip differs over long distances and all the attention you need for the race. And yet you turn on Grid Autosport and it's just like another race driver grip game. It doesn't feel that realistic. Now, for me, you only have to look at the success of Gran Turismo and Forza. They're both games that went down the simulation route. Both games have got their fantasy element, like with Forza, and you can do the huge paint jobs and really get extravagant in the way you decorate your cars. In Gran Turismo, they've got modes like where you drive on the moon and you get the Red Bull prototype car, which doesn't exist and has over 100,000 horsepower, depending on how you modify it. You know, they've got the fantasy elements, but the main thing is they take the overall experience of racing and make it fun. You know, you have to fight the car, you have to get the right racing line, but then when you put the effort in, as Top Gear has said many times sometimes on some of the reviews of the harder to drive cars. When you put the effort in, boy, do you get the rewards. And that's exactly what the games like Forza and the games like Gran Turismo have done. And Codemasters should be looking at the success of those games. Because let's not forget, Forza pretty much is a Le Mans simulator. You work your way up to driving around the likes of Le Mans. Gran Turismo, pretty much the same. And yet they both easily, hands down, destroy the sales of F1, which is supposed to be the pinnacle of motorsport. And really then, it should be the pinnacle of motorsport gaming.
Paragon's got a good point in that as well. Yeah, really. They should really put it to like a stimulation type of game, as you say. Forza being a success, Gran Turismo in the past being a success. You know, I used to buy Gran Turismo a lot, and I still got them now, and I still play on my PS1.
Well, again, it's not even that, but I mean, look at Need for Speed. They've managed to do a schism in their performances. For the ones who love the going all out, you'll never take me alive copper fantasy racing around all the high bridges between the cop cars, you've got the likes of Hot Pursuit, they've got the likes of Most Wanted, you've got the likes of the latest one, as Schumacher goes very wide in turn 14, those option tyres clearly looking worse for wear. And then you've also got the shift games, going back to that point, with EA, which is more realistic. Not completely realistic, it has to be said, but it's more realistic. You've also got, look at Project Cars. That's close, actually. Yeah, good point. Good catch there. As Smith comes out behind Schumacher IMA, but not by a lot.
And it was a similar move as what Righteous Tag and Speed Demon did as when Speed Demon was coming out of the pit lane. So the drivers are now being extra cautious when people are making their stops. As both drivers just keeping within the white lines are there, but
well, on the stream, meanwhile, Paragon 125, he's jumped in on the bandwagon regarding the points just made. As Schumacher IMA gets very much out of shape in the middle section there, so Smithcole's looking like he's going to gobble him up. He doesn't think Codemasters are the company who can take this game to the next level, as he doesn't think they have the budget all the time to give us an F1 game, as Smithcole goes very wide, but so does Schumacher IMA. And coming out of turn 12, Smithcole looks into turn 13. Schumacher IMA goes a little wide, Smithcole's on the outside. He's going to try and wall of death around, but the marbles there will make it not worth it, and indeed it drags him off the circuit. He loses a lot of time, and Schumacher IMA looks like he's going to have to go into the box for an extra stop, and he almost got it wrong, almost did what Connor Eyes did and hit the pit wall. Disastrous strategy from Schumacher IMA.
I think Andy Coy has now caught up to Estevo, who's now on the option tyres. Yes, I think Andy Coy, off camera, has made the pit stop, and he's now got Rybo, who's only 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's a real surprise actually, because Steve-O's now in first place. And Andy Coy, he's not far behind him. Now, when did Steve-O go on those tyres? That's the big question. Looking at them, I don't see any lines, seriously. There's a couple of minor ones, but there's nothing to suggest that the wear has gone on those option tyres. So I think Andy Coy, yeah, he's probably pitted, but I think Steve-O, because he had a pit stop ahead of him, he's going to be able to get away with it. Whereas Andy Coy is just going to have to get used to the older tyres. So while Steve-O is not going to lose the race, and the key question now, has Andy Coy done enough to be able to hold off Rybo? It looks like he has for now, but we've got a few laps left. Now, so yes, but Paragon doesn't believe Codemasters can take this game to the next level. But I mean, carrying on with the project, with the simulation, look at Project Cars. That started out as like pretty much a fan-made one that was going to be like on the current new one, which is like the Xbox 360. And now it's coming out not only on the next generation exclusive, but they've managed to get the license for the Bentley GT3 car, which no one else has. So they're being taken very seriously all of a sudden. They're another name to throw into the mix. So it's a question of how things go. Smitty, meanwhile, asked for another pop quiz. As Soren Wombat says, Codemasters do a good job. Well, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I've got to say one, but I think you'll be on your own with that one, because a lot of people feel that they've not really listened to the fans, and they've not really done enough to take the series forward from the early games. I mean, it's like 5 second lag That kind of thing should be ironed out years ago. I'm sorry. Getting the cars equal online. That should have been ironed out after 2011. There's no reason for it. Making downforce work properly, there's no reason for that to not be working as late as 2012 and 2013. You know, it's like, you know, the fact that the penalty system's unbalanced, the fact that the cars are unbalanced. There's so many things that need to be sorted out.
Really, and I think he's got probably a load of questions that he wants to keep asking us for the majority. I think he's keeping us in change with all these views he's got. Yeah, clearly. I think the Toastmasters can't really take it any more further. I'll be surprised if
well, backtrack from Soren Wombat, maybe he missed a word out, but he's actually put Codemasters do not do a good job. I don't know if I've changed his mind like a politician or he's missed out a word in his first statement. Only he will ever know. But needless to say, regarding the Sperena pot question, to be honest, I can't think of any questions off the top of my head. I asked for load last night, which were too good to be repeated. So for now, we're going to leave it.
No, as I think Andy is now second. He's got a second now over Rybo for third. He's got a lap car in front of him, which is Connorized, who's just come out of the pit lane. As I think Steve-O's getting hauled up. No, Steve-O has now cleared the McLaren of Schumacher. So it's now, this is going to be pushed to heating up now for the battle for second place between Andy, Rybo, the surprise package I reckon, and Speed Demon. So with 2 laps to go, I won't be surprised if Speed Demon can catch up to
I can't see Andy Coy being threatened by Rybo. And looking at the gap between Rybo and Speed Demon, there's no gap, there's nothing there either. I'd say these positions are pretty much settled. Smitty Lads saying viewers can ask the questions. Well, we're a bit late in the stream, but if you've got one to type, feel free, we'll try and answer it. We've only got a lap and a half to go pretty much, so we've not got long left. But if you've got a couple of questions, why not get them out there? Everyone else seems to do it. So going through turn 12, Rybo keeping inside the lines beautifully. Well, again, not really close enough to attack Andy Coy. Race has been a bit up and down in terms of action, partly not helped due to the lobby size. We were hurt tonight by a lot of drivers not actually being able to make it, and then of course when we lost at the start of the race, we lost one of the drivers on the grid as Samster goes very, very wide at turn 12. Guess I'm completely wrong, so definitely not the way to begin. Right, as Tag meanwhile follows his teammate, doesn't make the same mistake, but when we lost that car at the start, we also lost another fast driver, and it'd be interesting for the likes of Andy Coy and also as well for Steve-O what he would have made to it in the middle of the race.
And Connorized is now on the hunt for Schumacher IM8. The gap is 1.5 seconds, and they're coming. Connorized is coming to turn 4. Keeping within the white line. I just want to hear his engine. A bit hesitant on the power. He's just staying with the white line. He's actually closing now to Schumacher for 8th place. And
Soren Wombat. What kind of a question was that? How many Tour Champions did Schumacher win during his career? Even the casual person who doesn't watch F1 knows the answer to that one. Smitty Lads answered 7, and yet strangely, Soren Wombat said no.
Sorry,
well, you don't have to define what you mean by World Championships then. Smitty Lads come back and said 0 if it's Ralph. Good answer. Very good answer. Very creative. You get points from me for that one. Okay, so sorry, Mama said it's not 7, and then he's put 0. He's put give Smitty Lad correct. Well, so Smitty Lad got both answers right and tackled with that. Good job. Very good job. Which driver was the last one to win a world championship without winning a race in the season?
Ooh, that is I think I can recall one. That is a good question.
Meanwhile, Speed Demon locking up his brakes into turn 2. That's a little wide, and he's not really getting the gap towards Rybo. He's just not able to close it down.
Yeah. What is? Who was the last person? Who was the last person to win a championship without winning a race?
In a season, yeah, in F1.
In a season.
Yeah, in a season.
Right. Oh. Yeah.
Paragon says he's off to watch the football. Boo! Penalty on you.
Paragon, you disappoint me.
Smitty Lad, meanwhile, answers correctly with Kiki Rosberg.
As Steve-O comes around the final corner, and Steve-O wins in the Lotus to extend his lead in the championship.
Sure, yeah, definitely a good race won by Steve-O. He definitely had the pace under fire there, really kept things going. Rival, meanwhile, is going to come a commendable third place. Really good effort. He's really done really well here. He starts weaving on the track, and why shouldn't he? He crosses over the line, and behind Speed Demon rocks up in 5th. Now, interestingly, we've got a bit of a final duel going on between the Red Bull drivers, but I get the feeling Samster's going to just hang on here. Rice's Tacto is going to try going into the final corner. Has he got any traction left in those tyres? No, I think he's just out of pace here, and they're going to lie astern in 5th and 6th. But while we wait for the other guys, Smith Cole, also Schumacher IMA, and finally Connor Ice to reach the end of the race. Let's go over to you then, Steve-O. A race that started out from whites to flag, and although you lost one rival at the start, you still found yourself having to vary between your strategies with regards to getting the pace around here. How was it for you out on the track? Okay, I've now lost everyone from my party. That's a good news. So I ask the podium questions, and then everyone disappears. That's a nice way to begin, isn't it? So let's try and get these people back in here. So we'll try and get them all back for more comments. I don't know what's happened there. Absolutely crazy. So we'll try and get these people into the party so we can at least get their comments on the race. Fingers crossed there. Meanwhile, Studio156 asked how many crashes did Grosjean have in 2012? I think I stopped counting after a while. There was that many involved. While we wait for the rest of the podium drivers to make it in here, Steve, we'll come back to you. I did say before you mysteriously left the party that we saw on the race that you had quite a lot of pace. You went from whites to flag, but you still found yourself having to vary your strategy at many points during the race. Was it a tough one for you, or was it one where you were just managing the tyres?
Well, I knew I could three-stock because I'd done it the other day in practice, but I had a big enough gap. Me and Dave were practicing. I always knew if there was about a 10-second gap, I could always do a four-stop, and it just make it more comfortable. So it's just making it more comfortable for myself, just so I knew the car wasn't going to, because the curves can be quite dodgy around here on old tyres. So I just wanted fresh tyres, basically.
I mean, first place in this race obviously keeps your grip on the GP3 title as we enter the back half of the season, moving into the classic tracks of Spa and Monza. Do you feel this is a great chance now to underline your challenge and make it difficult for those behind you to catch up?
Well, I like Spa, so hopefully I'll do quite well there. And I think Andy said he can't make Spa, so I think that's just going to help me even more if that's the case.
Well, let's go over to Andy then for his comments, because early on in the race it looked like you were consistently in the pace, then found yourself struggling in the final stint in many ways because you didn't react to the pit stops of Steve-O and also of Rybo. But then finding your pace towards the end, you look at quite a comfortable second. Was that always your aim? Did you think you had the pace to match Steve-O today?
No, not at all. I saw Steve-O in GP2 as a reserve, and he bossed the race, didn't he? So it was basically just getting to second and maintain that position throughout the race, because I knew I wasn't going to catch him at all.
Well, Sam, I mean, obviously we're moving into the back part of the season. We've just been touched on how you might not be able to make the Spa Grand Prix. Is that confirmed?
Yep. Not to make the Spa race.
So with that one race in the middle where you can't get points then, do you think this is going to make it more difficult for you to make that championship challenge for Steve-O?
That's why it was great important today for me to score many points. I managed to do that, so I've put myself in a good position where I can afford to miss a race. Not really afford to, but it won't affect me that badly because I'm still second, aren't I?
Anyway, congratulations on your results today. Obviously, all results are provisional. But in the meantime, we will go over then to Rybo. Needless to say, early on, it looked like there was a bit of chaos at the first corner where the second Lotus of Smithcull kind of got a bit hot on his brakes trying to get through, and that caused a bit of a schism in the order. But you managed to keep yourself out of danger and then found yourself pretty much nose to tail with Speed Demon throughout the race. Did you always think the podium was there for the taking?
Not really, not at all. I'd have to say it's one of my worst tracks. So to get third, it's best I could hope for.
I mean, obviously, it's a track where it's been really difficult for the drivers in the past with low grip and high tyre wear. And of course, when you're constantly dueling with someone else, that only exacerbates that. Did you often, we saw that you seemed to be one of the first to try and get into the pits. Were you always thinking, try and maximise your results via the undercut?
Yeah, I've heard that undercutting at this track's very strong so far. Right, but, well.
Well, congratulations for getting your result here and getting that podium position. As I stated before, all results are provisional until the stewards' reports are completed. But for now, enjoy the fact that you've crossed the finish line and got yourselves up into those podium place positions. Of course, tonight you have the F4 stream also on Channel 1. If you get the chance, check out the footage of that archive. That was done by Dan Fisk. And then tomorrow evening, there's another double header. I think Dan and also F1 Speed will be covering that. That's the F5000 and the T6 leagues. They'll be both on Channels 1 and Channel 2. Before we are back on Sunday evening, 8 PM as usual, for the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps, one of the absolute iconic tracks of F1 and one that all the drivers love, so expect a bit of a classic there. But in the meantime, for all you people out there who watch the GP3 drivers go at it tonight, this has been the Excite Racing League, courtesy of GT Omega Racing and GamePod.co.uk, exclusively on Twitch. Thank you very much for watching tonight, and good night.